Rising from the Ashes, a story of a man who lost everything but rebuilt his life. Chapter 1, The Fall. Daniel Carter had it all: a thriving business, a beautiful family, and a luxurious home in downtown Chicago. His company, Carter Tech Solutions, was the crown jewel of his career. He had built it from the ground up, pouring in endless hours of hard work. Success seemed like his birthright, and he never thought he could lose it all. But life has a cruel way of humbling even the strongest. It started with a few bad investments, then a lawsuit that drained his finances, and finally an economic downer that wiped out his company. Within months, Daniel was bankrupt. As if financial ruin wasn't enough, his wife, Emily, unable to handle the stress and the drastic change in her lifestyle, left him, taking their young daughter, Lily, with her. His world crumbled. From lavish boardrooms, he now found himself in a tiny, rented apartment, staring at eviction notices. Chapter 2, Hitting Rock Bottom. With no money, no family, and no sense of purpose, Daniel fell into depression. He spent days drinking, avoiding calls from creditors, and isolated himself from the world. The man who once commanded boardrooms now felt like a failure, an afterthought in the grand scheme of life. One rainy night, after receiving an eviction notice, Daniel wandered the streets. He sat on a park bench, drenched, looking at the city skyline, wondering if he would ever get back up. That night, an old man named Robert sat beside him. Robert, a homeless war veteran, noticed the despair in Daniel's eyes and said, "Son, you can either let life bury you, or you can rise from the ashes. The choice is yours." Something about those words struck Daniel. Maybe it was the raw wisdom in Robert's voice, or the fact that a homeless man with nothing still had hope. Chapter 3, The First Step. The next morning, Daniel made a decision. He would rebuild his life, no matter how long it took. The first step was humbling. He took up a job as a janitor in a local tech firm. Cleaning floors was far from his previous life as a CEO, but it was a start. At night, he would visit the public library, reading books on personal development, business strategies, and emotional resilience. He knew he had the knowledge, but he needed to rebuild his confidence. Then, an opportunity presented itself. The tech firm where he worked was struggling with a software issue. Daniel, with his years of experience, saw the problem immediately. One night, instead of cleaning, he stayed back and fixed the bug. The next morning, the CEO, David Whitmore, was stunned to see the problem resolved. "Who did this?" David asked. When he found out it was a janitor, he was speechless. You used to run Carter Tech Solutions, didn't you?" Daniel nodded, slightly embarrassed. Instead of pity, David saw potential. "Come to my office," he said. Chapter 4, Second Chances. David offered Daniel a junior position in the IT department. It was far from the CEO chair he once occupied, but for Daniel, it was an opportunity. He worked harder than ever, proving his worth, and within months, he was promoted. But Daniel didn't want to just work for someone. He wanted to rebuild his own empire. In his spare time, he began developing an innovative AI-based cybersecurity software, something he had envisioned years ago, but never had time to pursue. One night, as he was coding in a coffee shop, he ran into an old friend, Sarah Mitchell, a venture capitalist. She was shocked to see Daniel working tirelessly after everything he had been through. "What are you working on?" she asked. Daniel hesitated, then showed her his prototype. Sarah, impressed, saw its potential. This could be groundbreaking. Daniel, if you're serious about this, I can introduce you to investors." It was the break he needed. Chapter 5, Rising Again. Sarah's introduction led to a meeting with investors, but convincing them wasn't easy. They saw Daniel as a fallen businessman, someone who had lost everything. But Daniel wasn't the same man who had lost his company. He was sharper, hungrier, and wiser. He delivered his pitch with passion, not just selling a product, but selling his resilience. The investors agreed to fund his startup. Within a year, Daniel's new company, Phoenix Cybertech, was making waves in the industry. The name Phoenix symbolized his journey, rising from the ashes. As his company grew, so did his personal life. He reached out to Emily and Lily, apologizing for his past mistakes. Time had healed old wounds, and while Emily had moved on, she respected his transformation. He rebuilt his relationship with Lily, becoming the father she deserved. Chapter 6. Giving Back. With success now firmly back in his grasp, Daniel never forgot where he came from. He started a foundation to help struggling entrepreneurs who had faced failures. He hired Robert, the homeless veteran who had given him that life-changing advice, giving him a dignified job at his company. One evening, standing in his glass-walled office, looking at the city skyline, Daniel smiled. He had lost everything, but in the process, he had found himself. Life had knocked him down, but he had chosen to rise. Conclusion. Daniel's story is a testament to the human spirit. Failure is not the end. It's a chapter. The ones who refuse to give up, who fight even when the odds are against them, are the ones who rise from the ashes. So if you're going through a tough time, remember this. Your story isn't over yet. Keep fighting, keep believing, and one day, you too will rise.